please keep in mind, since we have little time and a lot of candidates, please don't respond to me unless you have something new to add or if you disagree with what the other person said. So we will have some interaction going on here by all means. I know you'll all be professional in your comments. So, but please try to keep your comments to like a minute and a half so we can move through these real quickly. Okay, so let's start with Todd on this one. When a home developer petitions the town to increase density on their land, what rationale will you use to make your decision?
I think the best rationale we can do is look at what's already there, what's in the surrounding area, what is the town's plan to do with that area. If we're in an area that's already established for horse property and we want to keep it that way, then we should look at that. Let's look at the existing, look at the future plan for the town and what is already established, what the residents who moved in there were expecting when they moved in, and what's going to be best for the town, the residents, and that property.
Okay, anybody else? Matt?
So I'd like to add, I agree with Todd on that part, that we need to find out and talk to the residents first as well. But we also have to balance that with the needs of the towns and all the citizens as well, and the private property rights of the people that own the land as well. So I agree that we need to take a balanced approach and look at all the factors, and we can't just have, the developer has one interest, the landowner has an interest. We can't play favorites to one over the other. We have to balance that all for the benefit of the entire community. So thank you.
Okay. Yes, Stacy.
Also, I think too, we have to look at not just what is there that is existing, because I think that's very important, but I think we need to look at what future plans there are too, because, we don't, like I say, I came from Gilbert, where I was basically kind of just pushed out of Gilbert. They became landlocked, and so I think when you try to look at the town as a whole, you want to look at what is there, what has been, what the town people want, but also, what's the future plans? Are we looking into the future when we plan a development here that, we're going to overload ourselves in an area? So I just want to make sure that it's balanced in that respect so that, everybody is represented fairly in the town.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, Robin.
Thank you. In 2006, Arizona's legislature passed some really groundbreaking legislation, which we now refer to as Arizona Growing Smarter legislation. And that establishes a requirement that all cities and towns have a general plan which has to be updated every 10 years. The purpose of the general plan is to take into account the wants, needs, and future needs of each community. So Queen Creek has, in 2008, adopted a general plan. We'll be rewriting or modifying that general plan. In addition to the general plan, we have a zoning ordinance. And as part of our efforts to help developers be more successful in the community, we just completed a major rewrite of the zoning ordinance. Those two documents become the foundation for how development happens in the town of Queen Creek, like they do in every city, town, and county in the state of Arizona.
Jeff, did you want to add that?
Thanks, Wendy. I think that Robin covered a lot of what I was going to say. I would just add that the general plan that's approved every 10 years is a voter-approved document. So when we talk about the future plans for the community, those are incorporated into that general plan. And then I also am a staunch proponent of private property rights. And to that end, even if I might not necessarily agree with the density, I absolutely respect the applicant's right by law to bring forward a project, and then the town council is compelled to look at that. And one of the things that we're very widely known for in the town is incorporating public opinion. So we make those landowners have community meetings, and we bring all of the stakeholders to the table. And I find in my time on council that results in really much better projects than without. So that's one of the things that this council and previous ones even to me have been known for in the town of Queen Creek, is really incorporating that public thought and process and opinion.
Okay, anybody else? Alrighty. Kind of along the same lines, as a council member, you're tasked with preserving a small town feel for which Queen Creek is known and that attracts so many residents to move here. What limits would you place on development and growth, and what priority would you give to preserving the rural and natural environment so Queen Creek doesn't become like another dense mega suburb? I'm sorry, Matt. We'll start with you. Sorry.
Well, I think the most important thing, and as I've gone door to door in my neighborhood, at Cortina, every door, what the residents want, they want to keep a signature town, and they want to keep that feel. They don't want to be another Gilbert, they don't want to be Mesa or Tempe or Chandler, they want to be Queen Creek. And so I think, the initial part of the question is how do we do that? We have to continually promote the heritage that we have in Queen Creek, and that draws people here. We have Schnepp Farms that has a big draw for people, the Olive Mill, the Equestrian Center as well as a draw for people. So all of those things, those are many times labeled agritainment, and I think that's a part of our heritage here that we need to actively promote and develop. We also, we're going to grow. Queen Creek is so desirable of a town that we have to accept and understand that we're going to grow. And we're going to have to work hard to make sure that we keep to the master plan, keep the green spaces that we've already planned for in the trails, so that the citizens not only have this feeling about the town, but it's a reality that the town is and the citizens are committed to keeping that signature heritage and image. And as a council member, I'll work hard to make sure that happens.
Okay, anybody else? Jeff?
The general plan has us at build-out, years from now, approaching 100,000 people. That's probably where we're going to land. That said, for me, a lot of retaining the small town feel and atmosphere is just about being neighborly to one another. It's not necessarily about what subdivisions are here, because the subdivisions are largely 3 homes to the acre. Some are a little bit more dense than that in certain parts of town, and then the other areas of town will absolutely be protected. But by the same token, it's just about being neighborly. It's just about having, I talked about heavy-duty neighbor days that we had earlier. Well, now we have ice cream social and we have pancake breakfast where folks are invited to come out and have the town council flip pancakes for them. So that, in as much as anything else, in as much or as much as the density itself, as much as the homes within the neighborhood, is responsible for the small town feel. It's really more of a feel than it is the actual number of homes per acre. Even though, if you'll look at our general plan, we're going to be around 100,000. I personally feel strongly that with my interactions with residents on a daily basis and staying connected to people, I think that lends itself to that small town feel, even as we approach what some might say, well, how can you do that? 100,000 people, it doesn't sound small town. It can be small town, we can make it that way.
Okay, Brett?
Actually, we don't flip the pancakes, we just serve them. I talk to the builders and developers when they come, and I let them know that we have standards here, and those standards mean a lot to us. And I don't want their generic, what they built all over this community or all over the state or the valley to bring it to Queen Creek. I want their signature project. I want something that they want to move into when they're done building it. And so I sit down with them every single time they come, and I tell them, this is what the quality that the people of Queen Creek want. We don't want the same thing that's in Gilbert and Chandler and everything that's been regurgitated. So I think it's important to let them know that bring your best here to Queen Creek, because that's what we want. We want to be the premium or the premier place in Arizona. So, and I'm going to keep on them about it as long as I'm on council. And I've made some enemies of the developers, and because they don't like to hear that we want something better. Give us your best.
Anybody? Robin?
So I'd just like to follow with a couple comments. I think what really makes us that small town feel, as Councilmember Brown said, is that sense of community, it's neighborliness. When we celebrate good neighbors on a regular basis, but it's also a mixture of different housing styles. One of the things that our general plan did for us was establish areas where there would be larger lots and areas where there would be greater density. So some people are gonna have horses, some people are gonna have more traditional development, neighborhoods. But one of the things that I love, and I think what keeps Queen Creek small town feeling, is when, just like today, people took pictures of a couple of kids riding their horses through the drive-through at Starbucks. That's what makes Queen Creek great. Every time I see that, I smile and I say, that's my community. That's what I love about it.
Thank you. Stacy?
I'm that girl that takes her horse through the drive-thru at Burger King. But I think it's important too that we look at the structure that we have now. I attended a meeting recently at the town about where we're going with our trails and the washes. And I think it's important that we keep that structure there because that's what helps us share the town too. It makes us be a community is the horses can share the trails with the cyclists and, you know, and then making those trails and those washes, all of that accessible to the small businesses too, because we don't want to forget the small businesses that are in Queen Creek, because they played a huge part in what this town is. So, you know, I just think we have to keep that in mind as well.
Okay, Jake, how about you?
Yeah, so one of the things that was mentioned a little bit by Councilmember Barnes, but hasn't really been touched on, is that if we want to preserve the small town feel, we need to have collaborative relationships with the developers and with the builders that come in. It can't be adversarial relationships with those folks, because what is the worst way to get the worst product, or the best way to get the worst product, I should say, is to have to throw the hammer of government and to hold up permits and to hold up plans and threaten them by saying, if you don't do this, we're just not going to approve this. Right? That is not a way to foster good relationships where we can go and put our hand on their shoulder and say, you know, we're missing the mark here. And that's what Craig, what Councilmember Barnes hit on, right, is that he engages with the developers regularly. When they bring plans, he sits down with them, right? And that's not a bad thing, right? We've heard in this election that somehow that's a bad thing, that somehow having a relationship with these people is a negative for a candidate. And that's simply not the case, because I don't want to have to throw the book of government on top of the free market. I want to be able to walk over and put my hand on their shoulder and say, this is really missing the mark, and we'd like you to make these tweaks so that we can better encompass and better preserve that small town feel moving forward.
Thank you.